It all started on Boxing Day. The day that people are supposed to be going out with families after Christmas. People are supposed to be enjoying the last few days in what we can call Christmas time. That's when I received it. A voice message from Father Christmas himself.
Ho, ho, ho! I think I may be in grave danger. Oh no!
The first stop on my journey would be to go pick up my assistant, Eliza Eggnog. She lived just down the road from my dwelling. Eliza was good. She'd been my partner for years. We trusted each other. We knew each other. We knew the instincts. I trusted her. I trusted her more than anybody in the whole world. And I knew this case, the big one, I would need my best person on the job. I was off-putted upon arrival, as they were having Christmas with their family. The happiness, the joy, the family. It was nice to see on such a tragic day. Out of respect for Eliza's family, I didn't mention the horrible news. I stayed the night, and the next morning, we headed out towards the old Kringle place, the scene of the crime. Her family decided to tag along in something that may seem unprofessional to other police agencies, but for the North Pole Detective Agency, it's just a part of the job. Family, holidays, Christmas. The old Kringle place ran alongside the Christmas creek, a creek filled completely with cream soda. Mrs. Claus requested that I not show Kringle Manor in its glory due to privacy reasons, as she doesn't want every last elf to know where Santa and Mrs. Claus would spend their nights when they're not at the pole. I omitted the banner out of respect. First on the list of suspects is surprisingly Mrs. Claus. I say surprisingly if you do not know the facts of the case, and I will be including words from the usually sweet and holly jolly Mrs. Claus directly after this. If there are any little elves in the room, you might want to move them away or send them to another room, or simply put very, very heavy-duty earmuffs on little one's ears. It is not for the faint of heart.
Because when your husband is unemployed for 364 days a year and he's 1,000 years old.
But you must be excited to see him when he comes back.
Oh, by the time he stumbles in at 6 a.m., Chris has eaten roughly 2 billion cookies, so he pukes for a solid day. Then he spends a week in a methadone clinic to come down from the sugar high. But then, hooray, it's every girl's dream, a month of milk farts.
What about holiday music? That must put you in the spirit.
Oh, again, all the songs are about Santa. You know, where are the songs about Mrs. Claus? But all that changed when I met Chris.
Oh, right, you would call Santa Chris.
Oh, no, I meant Chris Angel Mind Freak. Do people not know that I dated him before Santa?
No.
Okay.
With that information, we also need to look into the whereabouts of a Mr. Chris Angel Mind Freak. I do not believe he is an elf, but looking at modern day pictures of the man, I can understand why Mrs. Claus may do such actions, or Mr. Angel Mind Freak might go after the missus through Mr. Claus. Third and fourthly, obvious picks, the Heat Miser and the Snow Miser. Both want to make Christmas into their ideal green or white Christmases all the time. Both are uncompromising, and according to both, they are too much. I'll be following up with them. Lastly, we have Tim Allen, the actor. He starred in a few Santa Claus movies and some seasons of a TV show about killing Santa and taking his place. All I'm saying is, maybe this is a new career for him, and he looks way too happy with that hammer in his hand. Again, I have a clip of how he may have killed Santa, and if you saw the footage from earlier, it is congruent with what the medical examiner said Santa's injuries were.
Hey yo, what's up?
We investigated the crime scene where Santa met his sweet, not so jolly end. Mrs. Claus had already cleaned up the area. That saint. We stayed the night, ready to head out the next morning in the only way elves know how to: bunk beds. Then, I scoped out the area, enjoyed the night with Eliza's lovely family. And the next morning, her family even made us some breakfast. I got some differing opinions on Santa, as you can see.
Santa got what he deserved.
That morning, we reached out to representatives of Mr. Chris Angel Mind Freak, the Heat Miser, the Snow Miser, and to Tim Allen. Unfortunately, throughout the investigation, Mr. Allen and Mr. Angel Mind Freak were hesitant to reach out, implying they knew nothing of the situation. Though, we did get good messages from both Heat Miser and Snow Miser that I will play now.
Well, I'm Heat Miser. Mr. Green Christmas Santa and I are not on sour terms. We holiday together in Bora Bora on occasion. Though I am too much, he has cooled his heat-filled heart. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help with this investigation.
Though the Heat Miser's words were nice to hear, that he and Santa Claus had mended their relationship in recent years, the Snow Miser actually had some potential leads for Eliza and I.
I, as the Snow Miser, agree with Santa more than we disagree, despite the fact that I am too much. He prefers white Christmas to green Christmas any day. It is simply his feelings of fairness that keeps him from making all snow. I knew that. I do have something you may need to look into. Near Santa's retreat at Kringle Manor, some stores have popped up that are selling Santa stuff. I know Mrs. Claus would never, but maybe the culprit would.
With a solid lead, Eliza and I headed for Turtle Town, an area just east of the North Pole. And the location of these stores that the Snow Miser says is selling Santa's merchandise and Santa's own stuff without him knowing about it, or that of the missus. This seems like it could be a motive for the potential culprit. The first of these stores we arrived at seemed to just be a upper class clothing store, discount store, but then we found it. The Christmas store. More like the Santa ripoff store. We walked in. We couldn't believe what we saw. They had their reindeer. Prancer, Cupid, Dasher, Dancer. They had all of them. We tried to make them feel better, and we knew that we could get them out. We just had to find out who it was, who did this. They even had the big man's chair. Eliza even tested it out just to be sure that it had the same comfort that we had known for all those years. It did. We did more looking around to see if we could find any more evidence. Any more evidence as to who this thief was, who the murderer was, who the one that was taking his name. And we found our favorite elf. Bing! What have they done to you, Bing? We'll save you, Bing. We'll save you. We looked around further. Tears filled my eyes as I saw so many things being taken from the North Pole to be sold to people who would not appreciate it, like Santa, like all the elves, like Mrs. Claus would. That day, we were reaffirmed in our mission. Our mission to thwart out the evil that we saw in the North Pole. I was able to make my way into the back offices of the store. And that's where I found it. A note. A note to Ebenezer Grinch, the worst elf in all of the North Pole. From, it seems to be, our culprit. Dear Mr. Grinch, I may be coming into some possessions that you may want to sell in your stores. Please reach out to me when you can. My name is a pseudonym, just in case his letters are found. So please meet me on December the 26th at 4 a.m. outside of your store. To a holly jolly Christmas. E.G. Zanella. P.S. Please make sure to follow my rules. That is the reason a certain someone is in this mess. After that, we fled the store. And to get our mind off the madness we had just seen, we went to the best delicacy that Turtletown could offer, the Garden of Olives. Then we headed back home. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to feel about anything we had just saw. Were we any steps closer to solving the case? Sure, we have a motive. Sure, we now have a suspect's name, albeit under a pseudonym. This Ebenezer Grinch character. He's not somebody that would comply well to my words. Nevertheless, that was our next target. It was off-putting being back at the manor, being back around the holly and jolly of a family celebrating Christmas and the New Year's. Eliza reached out to me just that day and said that she had received a voice memo from Mr. Grinch. And I'll play that here.
bought what was sold to me, Detective Slide Whistle. Nothing more, nothing less. I was saddened to hear about the passing of old Saint Nick. He was good for business. The more holly and jolly he and his little so-called workers are, the more humbug they inspired outside of the North Pole. Having said that, I can give you a piece of the puzzle. E.G. Zanilla's full name is Ego G. Zanilla. I hope it helps. This whole ordeal has been bad for business.
After that, we attended a memorial service for jolly old St. Nicholas. It was a solemn time. All were joyful, all were holly, and yet many tears were shed. Ego G. Zanilla. I wandered the grounds of Kringle Manor for hours, pondering, thinking about all of the clues that I'd received so far. Ego G. Zanilla. I felt lost. I felt like I had no place to go. It wasn't Chris Angel, Mind Freak. It wasn't the Heat Miser. It wasn't the Snow Miser. Tim Allen probably doesn't need to sell Santa's merchandise to make a little money on the side. Who has motives? I feel like I'm following all the rules and I'm still not getting the outcome. Wait. Rules? Rules? During one of the first nights we had played a game, Eliza was in charge. She read the rules. She only had 5, and the last one always struck me. If you ruin the game, I will kill you. She cared about the rules. Did Santa ruin one of her rules? Just to be sure, I went to my suspects one more time. Tim Allen? No. Heat Miser? No. Mrs. Claus? No. Snow Miser? No. Mr. Grinch? No. Chris Angel? Mind Freak? No. Myself? I don't think so, at least. Eliza Eggnog. It has the same letters. It's an anagram for Ego G. Zanilla. I had to confront her. I had to make sure that I was wrong. I needed to make sure I was wrong. The one person that I trusted more in this world than even myself sometimes. I looked through the house, but they were gone. Eliza, her family, had disappeared in the time that I was outside, in the time that I was pondering who Ego G. Zanilla was. She knew I was on her trail. She knew that it was only a matter of time before I figured it out, before I figured out who had betrayed me, before I figured out that my one partner, that my one person in this world against the world with me in this thing we call detective agency was in fact a double-crosser all along, a cotton-headed Nicky Muggins all along. I continued to search the house. I searched and searched, hoping they were all just in one room, but they were nowhere to be found. I had to go. I had to get out of here. I had to figure out where they had gone. I had to find Eliza. I had to find out for sure if she was Ego G. Zanilla. I had to know. Was my life a lie? Was she truly the worst elf of all? My journey continued. So I drove as fast as I could, back to Eliza's house, back to the house that had begun this whole journey. And what did I find? I had seen such life, such happiness, such holly jolly, such Christmas, such joy, and now, barren. They were gone. She was gone. She was like the wind. She knew the jig was up. She knew she couldn't baffle me once more. She couldn't bamboozle this elf any longer, but it was too late. She had her money. She had everything. And she was gone. But I had the gosh darn evidence.
Well, let me just preface this and say we have not been able to talk to any firefighters or anything just yet. So we don't know the official problem that they're having, but I did hear them talking about blue flames, which is usually a sign of gas. And we have seen crews with CPS energy here. But nevertheless, firefighters just busy all morning since 3:30 this morning. That's when they got called here. And you can see they're still pouring these copious amounts of water on what used to be a two-story building. We were able to move to this angle just in time to see parts of this building collapse under the weight of all that water and from the damage due to this fire.